If you ever wished you had your own personal automation assistant that runs on your own server, keeps your data private, and doesn't charge you for every task, then this video is exactly what you've been waiting for. Because today, we're going to set up n8n on Docker from absolute zero. And by the end of this video, you'll have a fully working, production-ready automation platform running on your own machine. So in this video, I'll walk you through every single step. Here's what we are going to cover today. First, we'll write the Docker Compose file and get n8n running locally. Then we'll hook it up with Traefik for a secure HTTPS connection using your own domain. And finally, we'll swap out the default SQLite database and connect n8n to Postgres. Everything locked in and ready for real workloads. But here's the bigger picture. This video is just the beginning, the first part of a full series where we go from setting up n8n all the way to mastering it. We'll explore how workflow triggers actually work, how different application nodes connect and talk to each other, how data flows through your automations, and most importantly, we'll get deep into building AI agents inside n8n that can think, decide, and act on your behalf. So if you're planning to stick around for this series, trust me, you're going to start here and build the right foundation from day one. Whether you're a home labber, a developer, or just someone who wants to automate their life without handing over their data to a third-party cloud, this entire series was built for you. So let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. First, let's start preparing the basic Docker Compose file to get n8n up and running. I have SSH'd into my Docker host, where I already have Docker installed and few of my services running. Also, I have created a directory for keeping n8n files and opened that specific directory here in the File Explorer. So let's start creating the files we need for n8n. First, we will create the Docker Compose file. Now in this file, we will start by defining the services section and name this service as n8n. Next, we need to provide the image. For that, just search for n8n Docker image. Click on this first link from Docker Hub. That will take us to the official n8n Docker image. Here, if you go to the tag summary section and expand this dropdown, you will see all the recently released image tags for n8n. Among them, I will choose this one. You can also use the latest tag, but I always prefer to use a specific version to avoid any unexpected changes. Now let's copy the image tag from here and paste it in our Docker Compose file. Next, let's add a container name. Then, we will define the ports section. For n8n, we need to map the port 5678 from the host to the port 5678 of the container. After that, we need to define the volumes section. I want to store the volume right here, inside another directory called n8n volume. And on the container side, we need to map it to /home/node/.n8n directory. Then finally, let's add the restart policy and set it to unless stopped. Now, before we deploy this container, let's quickly create this volume directory to avoid any permission issues later on. So let's go to the terminal and run mkdir, followed by n8n volume. Our volume directory is created. Now let's deploy this container by running docker compose up -d. Docker will start pulling the image. Then spin up the container. But at this point, if we go to the browser and enter the IP address of the host machine, followed by the port 5678, we will not be able to access n8n. Because n8n requires an HTTPS connection to function properly. To fix this, we can simply use this environment variable and set it to false. So let's copy this variable and go back to our Docker Compose file. Here I will add an environment section and mention that variable, then set it to false. Now if we redeploy the container and go to the browser, we should be able to access n8n over a plain HTTP connection. But this is not recommended, especially for a production setup. So I will integrate Traefik to host n8n with a secure HTTPS connection. I have already deployed and configured Traefik on this host in my previous videos. So I only need to add these 5 labels in our n8n Docker Compose file. If you haven't watched those videos yet, I'll put the link in the I button and also in the description below. So let's go back to VS Code and add those labels in our Docker Compose file. Now we need to update these labels to work with our n8n setup. First, let me comment out this port section and add this port in the below label. We also need to update these service names and this domain name in these labels. Let's change them to n8n. After that, we need to define these domain and subdomain variables. So let's create a .env file inside our n8n directory and add those two variables. Let me quickly set their values and save this file. We don't need to modify anything else here, so let's close it for now. In our Docker Compose file, we no longer need this environment variable, so let's comment it out. Also, we need to do one more step. Since Traefik is running on this same host, so we need to add our n8n container to the Traefik network. For that, we need to add a network section, define the Traefik network, and set external to true. Then we need to add our n8n service to this network. Now we need to redeploy the container to apply these changes. So let's go to the terminal and run docker compose up-d. Once the container is recreated, if we go to the browser and try to access n8n using the IP address and the port, it will no longer work. Instead, let's try to access it with a domain which we configured. As you can see, we can access n8n over a secure HTTPS connection. Now, if you want to proceed with just SQLite database, you can go ahead and create an account by filling these details and click on Next. On this page, we can customize our n8n setup, but I will leave these blank for now and click on Get Started. From this page, you can claim a free license key for n8n, which will unlock features like folders, execution search, and tagging. I would recommend you to get this by just clicking on Send me a free license key. Since I already have it for my personal setup, so for this recording, I will click on Skip, and that will take us to the n8n overview page. From here, you can start building your workflows and automations. Now, if you are just planning to test n8n, then you can use this setup. But for production, we need to make one more enhancement. If we go back to our VS Code and expand the n8n volume, you will see currently n8n is using SQLite as its database. To make this setup more powerful, we will integrate Postgres as the backend database. Now, I already have Postgres and pgadmin deployed on this machine. If you want to check out how we did that, you can watch my video on setting up Postgres and pgadmin on Docker. You will find the link in the I button or in the description below. So once you have that, let's go to pgadmin and create a dedicated user and a database for n8n. Here, to create the user, right-click on this login/group role, select Create, and choose login/group role again. Now, in the General tab, we will provide a name. Then let's go to the Definition tab. Here, we will set a strong password for this user. Also, we need to go to the Privileges tab and enable this Can Login option. Once done, click on Save. As you can see here, the new user is created. So now let's create the database. Right-click on this, then select Create and choose Database. Let's name this database as n8ndb and set the owner to the new n8n user. We are mostly done here, although it is not mandatory for n8n, but I prefer to set the collation to English US UTF-8. Once done, click on Save. With this, our database is also created here. So let's go to VS Code and open the .env file. Now to connect our n8n container to this database, we need to define few environment variables. Here, first let's add a variable to define the user and set it to the new n8n user, which we just created. I'll also add a variable for password and enter the password we configured for this user. Let's define one more variable for the database name and point it to the new database. Now let's go back to our Docker Compose file. Here, under this environment section, we will add those database variables. First, we need to provide the database type and set it to PostgreSDB. Next, we need to provide the Postgres host. In my case, since Postgres is running on the same host, so I will set it to Postgres. But for this to work, we need to add our n8n container to the Postgres network. So let me add a new entry in the network section, define the Postgres network, and set external to true. We also need to add our n8n service to this network. Now, since we are adding this container to multiple networks, so we also need to add another label for Docker network and set it to Traefik. Without this, Traefik might not work properly. I covered it in my Traefik video series. If you want to know that in detail, you can definitely check that out. With this, our n8n container should be able to reach out to our Postgres instance. But along with that, we also need to provide a few other details. So let's add one more environment variable, just like the previous one. And this time, instead of host, mention port, and set it to 5432. Similarly, we need to add another variable for the database name. And for its value, we can directly refer it from the .env file. Now let's add a few more variables. One for the user, one for the password, and one for the schema. For the schema, if we check our database in pgadmin, you will see by default we already have the public schema. I will use that one for storing n8n data. Later, if required, I will create other schemas in the same database and use them for automations inside n8n. But if you want to use a separate schema for n8n configuration, then just create that schema and set it here in this variable. Let me set it to public. For the user and password variables, I will set their values by referring the variables, which we define in our .env file. Now we can use the Postgres database with n8n. But as of now, we do not have any data in our database. If you go to pgadmin and expand the tables, you will see nothing is there. But if we redeploy the container by running docker compose up-d, then refresh the tables here, you will see n8n has started creating the tables. But now if we go to the n8n web interface, you will see it prompted us to create the owner account again. This is because previously we did our setup with SQLite, but right now we are using the new Postgres database. So let me quickly create the account again. And now we have our own self-hosted n8n instance, completely ready to automate our workflow. But we still have a lot more things which we need to configure for n8n. We will do those one by one as we go ahead in our automation journey. Hope you enjoyed this video and deployed your own instance of n8n. Let me know what are your plans to automate using this setup. Also, let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. And if you are facing any issues, you can mention in the comments below, or you can also join my Discord server. You will find all these codes in my GitHub profile as well. Now, if you would like to know how to start automating using n8n, then you have to know how we can trigger an automation based on an event. And you can know all about n8n trigger from this next video, where I will cover everything regarding that. So let's take our first step to automate our life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more such content. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.